So I'll give you some ideas on how to get rid of that cobbled together look. So the first thing is, it doesn't matter what content you have, start with a blank screen. Be intentional with the design that you have, right? You don't want to just go with what you have. You know, a lot of times, and this is the case if you're working with PowerPoint, you've got content that maybe you created or subject matter expert created. So you've got, say, good content, and there's a look to it already. Somebody's already put images in there, and they've got a font, they've used a template or whatever it is, and then you start working from that. And what happens is that, whether it could be good, but it doesn't matter at this point, but you start working with what they have rather than being intentional about what you're designing. So what you really need to do is say, okay, this is all I have. Let me step away from it. I've got a blank screen. I'm going to sketch out what I want, and then I'm going to start pulling the things together based on what I intended to be rather than letting what I have guide it. I always tell that story. I have when we bought our house a few years ago, there was a rhododendron, which is, I'm up in Washington area, so there's a lot. Those are all over the place. And so we had this big rhodie. But I don't know, our neighbor told us that the guy who used to own the house was like a pilot in World War II and brought this thing back from China and all this stuff. But it was in the middle of our yard. So then we started like designing things in our yard around this stupid tree, right? And then I hated mowing because the way it was laid out on there, I just want straight lines. Make the mowing as easy as possible. But then my kids were climbing on there and making a mess. There's always something, there's holes because they're always digging around the tree and all. But this tree that we didn't plant, and it was a nice tree, but it dictated all of our design ideas for our yard. Although my wife would say there really are no ideas in the yard. But the thing is, that tree, and you know, it was there, and so we started working around it, and what we really should have done was just leveled it, although our neighbor would have been upset. Fortunately, we didn't have to make that decision because I had 2 young kids, so they broke enough of it to where we were able to get rid of it. But the thing was, that tree was there, and then because it was there, we started making decisions not based on what we wanted, but based on what was there. A lot of times we do that with the e-learning courses. We get content from our subject matter experts, and we just start running with what exists rather than stepping back and saying, you know, I've got this blank screen, I need to build a course, what content needs to be in there, what's the right look for the course, you know, how am I going to build my interactivity? So you got to step back and be intentional about everything that you do. And it might be that the content that you get from the subject matter expert, the content that already exists, is perfect, but make that decision in an intentional way rather than just running with what you have.